Hello guys, my name is Chi-Yuan, and because I'm not yet in Germany, so I use my iPad to record my presentations. I hope you like it. So in this slide, we're going to talk about the Trompena's findings in China's, which is we compares the final dimensions, internal directions and versus the external directions. What does this means in the internal and external directions? As we mentioned before, the let me show you. The internal directions, which means that people, like they assume people are tend to control their environment. They prefer to control the environment, like weathers, their roads, their I don't know, like house, and like their natures in general. But as for the external directions, they prefer not to control. They accept it. They accepted what it is and how it looks like and just trying to do their best. So in his questions, there's usually the Trompenas use the bin, um, binaries questions in his surveys. So there's only two questions. The first question, it is worthwhile trying to control. As you can see, trying to control importance natural force like the weathers, as we just mentioned. So the first question is actually, let's talk about the internal directions. And the second question is like the natural should take the courses we just to accept it the way it comes and do the best we can. So the second one will be the external directions. It's quite obvious. And what he's found is that what did he find is that there's only 37% of Chinese people prefer to control the environment, which is quite low. So we can have a conclusions that Chinese people prefer the external. Oh, here, like the external directions in here. So Chinese people tend to accept the natural changes. So if we take a look in these distributions, there's a many countries in here. As we can see, Chinese people only have 37%. You can see 37% in here. However, Americans people, which is in the United States, have 83%, which is quite high. So Americans people will more likely be eternal. So as we can have a simple conclusions that Chinese peoples are actually below to 50%, which 50% is around here. So all the way down here, from high to low. So Chinese people are preferred to have, in their cultures, they are more like external directions. Okay, next slide. So in this slide, we're going to talk about like data collections methodologies for these dimensions or these surveys, or you can say it's about like this research. So Lei applies the questionnaire survey, which is the quantitative methodologies to have like a numbers to analyze it. And they also have a database assess. And this database assess, sorry, I blocked that. And the database assess, which is only focusing on the demographic of the countries. Or we can say it's according to the book, he used the GDPs, incomes, and demographics to compare or analyze his quantitative analysis. So he can have both objective perspective and subjective perspectives, and have a combinations both of them. And he also compares like around 155,000 cases from over 125 countries. So it's quite which is quite impressive because 125 countries is a huge numbers, and I believe that it almost contains all the countries around the world. And as for the sample distributions, here's the samples. According to the books, it approximately contains around 75%. I mean, 75% of the samples are belongs to the management. And what does that mean is that the managers in operations, marketing, sales, and so on. But in my opinion, it could be a bias, can be a bias at this point in the research methodologies because like in one countries there could be they have of course they have a students, they have teenagers, or maybe they have a different level of labors because not everyone can be a managers and like if they only surveyed if they only ask the surveys to the managers, it can be sometimes their opinions can be only in one direction, so they can ignore others' volumes in that countries. But maybe they have their own considerations, so we just accept it. And the remaining 25% were general administration staffs, like personal assistants and so on. Like only 25%. That includes like maybe another levels of labors. And of course, this research is ongoing data collections. And I saw the on our website, it says like because research was trying to um, includes like whole populations around the world. So even until 2021, they still have a surveys on online, or maybe like because of pandemics, the research process has been extended. Next slide. And according to the books, the countries includes various around the world, and of course, North America, which is the must, is around here, and the mid-South Americas include Brazil, Mexico, Colombia, and so on, which is they're in here. And European regions like Germany, UK, France, Italy, Czech Republic, Sweden, Denmark, which is here, and the Middle East, like Israel, UAE, which is here, you can see, and Asia, of course, there's a big portions of populations around the world, and like China, of course, Japan, South Korea, Thailand, India, which is around here, and of course Russia, but I didn't write it down in here. Russia Federal. Here it includes the Australia in here. We just call it more simply like a Asian Pacific, and of course the Africa, South Africa, and so on. So we should go here. So as we can see, his research contains all the continents. Of course, not in the like Authentica, so which is not included. And here's my presentation. Thank you.